My name is Nick Zammeti and I'm a YouTube influencer, I suppose, or woodworker, artist. I'm going to walk you through how I restore a rotting Christmas sleigh. I was involved in a TV series here in the UK, which I got given the sleigh to restore. It was brought in from Lithuania, so the sleigh was pretty old. I'm not too sure exactly how old it was, but it could be 100 years old, I've no idea, but it was definitely pretty old. First of all, it's covered in this green, like a lime green paint that somebody's painted it. I'm not sure if that was the original colour or not. It's got twisted bars in it, the metal's all twisted and battered, half the seat's missing on it, so there's certainly a lot of work to do. First, what I've got to do is unbolt all of the sleigh. The best thing to try and, with this type of restoration, is to try and unbolt everything I can, using different tools, because there has been some different types of nuts and bolts added to this over the period. So I'm trying different spanners and ratchets and sockets and things just to try and get everything unbolted that I can. Now I'm going to wire brush the entire sleigh as well, because I just want to get off all the rust I can. So it's probably been on here for years and years, so wire brushing everything as much as possible. So there's like bits of the patterns on the side there, some bits that are missing in that, so I'm going to need to kind of recreate and reconstruct those. There's an old bit of wood that I can lose from this to use to cut out the pieces. I'm going to have to chop out a few of the bits and pieces that I need from that old bit of sleigh wood. I'm going to use a jigsaw to cut out the shapes for the missing parts and then try and sand it back and glue it in. What I'm going to have to do to try and recreate the pattern that's missing on the other side is just check out the side that is whole and sort of trace that side and then flip it over and then try and cut out a similar shape to fit into the missing pattern. Now I'm going to have to make a seat for this sleigh because there isn't one, it's disappeared. So I'm going to biscuit join the pieces of wood together to try and make the seat a whole piece. So when you put the biscuits in, I'm going to have to put some glue in and get it all clamped up and leave that overnight. So now with the seat that's now ready and all glued up, I'm going to have to try and rough this up a little bit. So I'm going to burn it just to try and make it look a bit old and sort of like in keeping with the sleigh really, because it's a new piece of wood. We've had to make this seat completely from scratch. So really you're going to have to burn it up, bang it with a hammer a few times, you know, like it's been there for 100 years. So now we're going to have to sand the entire sleigh down, as much sanding as possible. There's going to be a lot of hand sanding involved, and I'm going to have to use a few machines like orbital sanders just to really try and get as much of this green that someone's covered this sleigh in, and also with the metal work as well, because it is very rusty and it's got some really old paint on it. Going to try and get all that back to bare metal just to try to get off all the old stuff and preparation really for the new paint. I want to paint the frame black. There's obviously a few different ways to paint sleighs, but I want a sort of traditional Santa sleigh, and from what I know and what I've grown up to know of is that the Santa sleigh is kind of like a bit red obviously, and it's got some black in it, so I'm going to go with the frame completely black and then start painting all the wood a nice bright vibrant Santa sleigh red. The sleigh is going to need a few coats of this red because it's going to seep into the wood quite a bit, so we're going to need a few coats of the red on it. The black's going to cover quite well, so that's going to come up all right. And I think with this piece, it's going to need hand painting really, because there's so many individual little areas and little bits that meet up to the black metal. I think it's just going to be easier to just hand paint it. It's going to take a lot longer, but I think the finish is going to be much better. Now I'm going to have to use a tiny paintbrush just because it's just a bit more of a detailed section. I want to make sure I don't get the paint all over the other paint that I've just put on there. So I've managed to keep all of the aluminium that's been put around this sleigh. I'm going to have to put it all back in now, just basically using some new nails, just hammering nails really, just making sure it's all banged into place. And it's that type of sort of aluminium, you can just bang it and mold it around, you know, the wood and stuff, so it makes it look quite cool anyway. Now I'm going to fit everything together, so I'm going to put the new seat in that I've made, get that bolted in and secure with the backrest on there. But then there's a few new bolts I'll have to add into this because some of them couldn't really get off before. So that is the sleigh finished. The end story to this is absolutely pretty amazing because it was part of the show. I obviously had to sell this sleigh, and it's actually was purchased by a chap who runs a shop in New Zealand. So if you wanted to see this sleigh or actually take a seat in the sleigh, it is now sat in New Zealand in a shop called the Christmas Hut.